Welcome to our training video on game user interface design. I think we have another 7 or 8 videos before this for game user interface design. You need to watch them to understand this as well. So here we'll be talking about the defining interaction model. I think game interaction model, it is also part of the defining gameplay, and this also happens in the elaboration phase of game design. Now, what is interaction model? It's actually how the player interacts with the game world. So it is the relationship between the player's inputs and the resulting actions. How you can define the interaction model for your game? I think it involves 2 steps. You have to define how the player press the controller button. What are the possible button press options, or what are the buttons and how to press, and also how these pressing or manipulating the buttons or controls will translate into the game world action, how this will happen. Now there are several interaction models, just like avatar based, multi-present, party based, contestant model and desktop model. In avatar based model, as a designer you just need to think about the avatar. I think you need to define the interactions of the avatar. Avatar is the main stuff, but you also need to define the interactions of the other players as well, I believe. So in avatar based, players actions consist mostly of controlling a single character like his avatar in the game world. So it can be the human in the game or it can be the vehicle in the game, but you need to define the interactions for the avatar primarily. In the multi-present, I think the player needs to be able to see the different parts of the game at one instance, or maybe you have to give him the ability so that he can interact with the different parts of the game world. Just like chess, he has to be able to access any part of the board and move some unit, something like that. And in party based interaction model, I think role-playing games they can use this party based interaction model. In this model you need to use point and click navigation. You can just point an avatar and move it there, here, something like that, and you can also use aerial perspective. In the contested model, I think some questions will be asked. As a player you have to answer those. So here navigation will not be necessary. You will just simply assign different decision options to different button. In the desktop model, it will mimic some usual computer software, some window-based software, and it will usually include some sort of office activities such as business simulation. After interactive model, you have to define the camera models for your game. I think one thing is you need to decide and why should you use 3D graphics or two-dimensional graphics. Actually 3D graphics, those are players enjoy more and they look better, and if you have the option, maybe you should, or if you are good at 3D, then you should use 3D. But 3D graphic, if you're not good at, maybe it's not wise to use 3D graphics. Maybe stick to 2D. I think if you can 2D well but not good at 3D, then don't go for 3D, something like that. Now in terms of camera model, I think there are some first person perspective, third person perspective, something like that. In first person perspective, the game world is shown according to the eyes of the player. I think you can see the player eyes works as the camera. Through this you can see the game world, and whatever you can see, whatever you point to, you just show that that area of the game. Now, what are the advantages of first person perspective? You don't display the avatar, so reduced development cost, no AI to control the camera. Players find it easier to aim the enemies. The player may find interaction with the environment easy. Disadvantage: the player miss the pleasure to watch himself in the game, and also cannot customize his or her looks. Now, also no body language or facial expressions of the avatar of the player, so reduces the player's sense of her as a distinct character with a personality and a current mood. Personality must be expressed in other ways. So in first person perspective games, you have to represent the player's personality in different ways, maybe audible voice or something, or a scripted conversation. And there is no cinematic camera angles for dramatic effect because you don't see the avatar. Certain types of moves become difficult, just like going up through stairs, because sometimes it can also give motion sickness to the player. Now, in third person perspective, I think you place camera just a little above and behind the avatar, and you can show a little bit of in front of the avatar in the game view, so that the player can see the in front of the player and the surrounding objects. I think objects in that area. So there are some challenges involved with third person perspective. I think what will happen when the player will turn. I think there are several options. You can keep camera always behind of the player. It can cause motion sickness, no fun of watching his or her side and front. Camera moves behind slowly. Sometimes the side images are DG in this aspect. Camera, you can reorient camera when the player turns in front of him. Camera reorients only after the avatar stops moving. But what happens when the player turns and coming towards or going backwards? How you wanna represent those situations? You have to think about that. And for third person perspective, there are another aspect. What you wanna show when the player will be, I think when there will be an wall behind the player. I think this is intruding landscape object. What you wanna do? What you can do, you can keep the maintain the camera's original position, maybe just behind him and a little up, or and you can make the wall transparent. Just make the behind wall transparent and show the game view or main view as you will be showing. That is one thing. Or you can place the camera behind the avatar but in front of the wall and crane it upward somewhat and also tilt it down, so the player will only see the area immediately in front of the avatar from a raised point of view. Another option is orient the camera immediately behind the avatar's head and render her head semi-transparent until she's as long as she's there or he's there. You can keep the camera there. And yeah, that you can do. Player adjustments to the camera. I think in third person games sometimes the players need to adjust the position